fais des choix, je te le cache pas, bébé, ce sera toi. Ce sera toi, boule petite boule rag. J'ai fait des choix, je te le cache pas, bébé, ce sera toi. Ce sera toi, boule petite.
Yo, what's up YouTube? It's Melody back once again on another tutorial. Yes, I won't be talking too much. Let's just head straight to the system and show you how I mixed this particular project. Okay, so this project is from an artist called Lighty. He's in Marseille, France. Yeah, so he sent me the just like I mix for other clients around the globe. So he sent me the project, and it sounded like he has a deep baritone voice. So there are different approach on how you mix different vocals. Understand? So there is no copy and paste when it comes to vocal mixing. It's about the ears. Like your ear has to know when the frequency is correct. Understand? So the first thing, let me play what it sounds like before I started processing it. Okay, let me bring up my mixer. My mixer is on the other screen, so I have to drag it to the recording screen so you can be able to see my mixer. I'm even trying to use 4 screens. That would be mad. Like I'll have my mixer here, I have everything. It's more interesting to work that way. So I have my mixer up here. Take off all these processes.
J'ai fait des choix, je te le cache pas, bébé, ce sera toi. Ce sera toi, boule petite boule rag.
So that was how it sounds before I started processing it. Then after the processing, this is what it sounds like.
J'ai fait des choix, je te le cache pas, bébé, ce sera toi. Ce sera toi, boule petite.
So you can see the difference there. So the way we mix artists or vocalists with deep voice is different from the way we mix artists or vocalists with lighter voice, or some females too. So we have different approaches. At the end of the day, we want all the frequencies to be balanced. And when mixing vocal, the first thing is always having the weddings, the lyrics being heard all the time. That's the first goal. So in the course of this channel, I'll be doing some in-depth teachings, and those ones will be for selected amount of people. Those who join our program, you could look at the description. You see where they click join. You can join because there are some contents that will be only for those people who have joined. In-depth frequency and analytics, and some mixes and mastering. So do well to join now so that you won't miss out any of our coming packages. You understand? So the first thing when I started mixing this song, the first thing I noticed was the low and the muddiness. It was like up there. Understand? There are some expensive microphones you can use to filter even before recording, but I don't know the microphone. I think he sent me the microphone he used, but it was just a basic microphone. So microphone is not really of utmost importance. You understand? The ear is the best tool you have. So, and I also say the most important equipment in a studio is the producer, not the equipment. There are people who do greater jobs with lesser equipment than those. So stop going about thinking you need more equipment, you need more VST plugins. No, you're just going to run around in that circle. And then there was someone who commented in one of my videos and said I talk too much. Man, calm down. The reason why we talk is to explain what we are doing. If we cannot just start getting into no be use serious parts for this word now, that calm down. So back to the tutorial. The first thing I did definitely was auto-tune. That was on the individual track. Auto-tune is essential. Reason being, I've explained it before. Reason being, these instruments we play, they are VST plugins, they are digital. So most times when you play, especially even the piano or whatever, when you play them and you hit maybe a key C, the key C is 100% C. Unlike the live instrument like the guitar or all those live stuff, when sometimes they are not tuned perfectly to 100%. That's where the human error that adds the humanity to it comes. So when you are playing digital stuff, they're always accurate. So when you sing, when a vocalist sings, and even if the vocalist is so good, no vocalist hits 100% on a note. Some can hit 80, 90, depending. But when you compare the sound of a vocalist of key C and an instrument digital that was played on key C, the perfection of the instrument is going to make the vocalist sound like it's not perfect. That's why we use auto tune, not like to use it robotically, but just to glue the pitch together. You understand? I'm not talking too much. So if you observe, the first thing I did here was the input type. I choose the low male because he was singing on the lower octave. Understand? Then I chose the right key. He was on A major. Then I used the return speed of 6 and I humanized it to like above half. Understand? To still keep that, return that humanity to it so it doesn't sound too robotic. I didn't touch these guys. I normally don't. So after that, I sent, you know how I do, I send all the tracks. I send all the tracks to the group track where I put all the effects. So the first thing I added here was an EQ first was the low frequency was getting me so disturbed. So I had to like do something for that because when you most times when you are mixing, you listen for not the good part but the bad part. That's the important. So do well to join our channel. Click the join down there so you can get access to uh hi because I'm let me not talk. Just join. If you've not subscribed and this is your first time here, do well to subscribe and join us because we are a family. So I did a low cut at around 180, 18 hertz. I cut off everything. That's so much lows. I didn't even want it. Then I also took down the boxiness that was disturbing me. Like not like the boxiness, but it was just a low rumble. Let me just solo it, and you see what it sounds like. It was just crazy. I didn't like at all, at all.
J'ai fait des choix, je te le cache pas, bébé.
So I will do a quick bypass of the EQ so you see what difference we have.
J'ai fait des choix, je te le cache pas, bébé, ce sera toi. J'ai fait des choix, je te le cache pas, bébé.
There's been a little clearance or reduction of that, but let me show you what I reduced. This guy,
J'ai fait
that particular part of his voice will always clash with the bass and the kick. Understand? So I took that down first. Then the next thing I added, currently this is my favorite compressor. The CLA2A is just amazing. So I will bypass. You know what a compressor does. If you don't know, watch the video on compression if you haven't. So I'll kick in the compressor, then you see the difference.
J'ai fait des choix, je te le cache pas, bébé, ce sera toi. Ce sera toi, boule petite boule ragale, je
The compressor glues makes the vocal a little bit even and linear. You understand? Reducing the dynamics in the voice. So the next thing I did was another EQ. I did I did a lot on this EQ. Most times I usually don't do this much in one EQ. Most times I use like 5 EQs in one channel. Understand? I do specific stuff on each of the EQs, but this one I think all the mixes come with a particular mood to them. So the first thing I did also was cut off the lows because then when after compression tends to take down the loud parts and and increase the quiet parts. So when it was increasing the quiet parts, it also brought up some of the low frequencies that were a little bit cut off in the first EQ. So that was why I also had to cut it off again to 131 this time around. Then I also did the same frequency I cut almost the other time, but then I cut it around 127. Let me show you what it sounds like.
J'ai fait des choix, je te le cache pas. J'ai fait des choix, je te le cache.
With the EQ activated, I will do bypass so you see the difference.
J'ai fait des choix, je te le cache pas, bébé, ce sera toi. Ce sera toi, boule petite boule ragale, je serai là. Là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Là, ton réveil dans tes draps.
Please you're supposed to use good headsets or your speakers to listen to this sound correctly.
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps.
So I cut off the lows, then I also reduce this guy.
dans mes bras.
But then I wasn't done. I did after adding this reductive EQ, I also added a dynamic EQ on top of it. Understand? And I gave it like a minus 1.4 dB gain reduction, so that it will even reduce that low rumble the more. When because the low rumble, when I listen to the vocal, it wasn't consistent. Sometimes it comes in some words, sometimes it doesn't. So I just use that dynamic EQ to just put it in check. So I also cut off some of the boxy area, which is around 307.
Dans mes
Yeah, I cut off that. Then I also gave it a little bit of happy frequency. I call it happy frequency because they have life to it. Like usually between 2,000 and 3,000, sometimes 4,000, depending on the vocalist. I gave it that boost and also gave it a boost around the 8K because that's where the shine of every vocal is. This makes it exciting. So when you hear one on the tweeters of your speakers, they make it look like they have life. So that was all I did for here. Then I brought in another compressor. Since I've been including some EQs, boosting, reduction, there's been alternation in the dynamics of of the vocal. So I had to bring another compressor. Now this is the Arrowvox. I love the Arrowvox because it was meant for vocals. It's like the Arrowvox Vox is vocals, so it does a pretty job gluing vocals. So I used the Arrowvox and glued the whole stuff together once again.
là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je
I wasn't going so crazy on it because I've already compressed. You don't want to over compress your vocal. So I'll do a quick before and after you hear what it sounds like. So I'll start with it off.
là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prendrai dans mes bras.
So you see when it came in, the vocal jumped up a little bit, like it came lively.
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prendrai dans mes bras. Malmonuma teken si se place n'a rien.
So that's the power of compression. Now the next thing I added here was a de-esser.
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te
Because I can't hear French, because this is actually French, but there are some harsh frequencies, the where S's and T's. So I use this to catch.
là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prendrai dans mes bras.
So that part, you understand. So I also brought in another EQ, and if you watch, I use Fab Filter a lot because Fab Filter is my favorite EQ. I use it. That's the only EQ I use 99% of the time. So I also did reason I did another low cut is because I introduced compression. A compressor will always boost the quiet parts. So I don't want to risk it at any point. So immediately after compressing, I always add an EQ under it and take down stuff. Now in this particular EQ, I was not taking down those frequencies that we are not sounding perfectly. Now this is like my surgical EQ where I do the final operation. Is that the final? No, but I think I did almost the final operation here. I cut off the lows again. Now this time I didn't go too high, just at 88 hertz. And I also did just a dynamic EQ around 145.
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prendrai dans mes bras. Malmonuma teken.
Cutting down this guy. You hear that low rumble? Yeah, there are some words when he said them, he just duck it down for me. Understand? So I was also taking down most of these things. I'm just soloing it for the sake of this tutorial. But when you are mixing, you do in context with your instrumental because it is your instrumental that will tell you when the vocal and some instrumental are clashing. Then you now know where you are taking down, whether you are taking off from the instrumental or you are taking off from the vocal. So I did that and also cut this guy. He was disturbing my ears. Then I also cut this guy. Because in the long run, when you listen to this kind of song after the master in a high volume, then your ears are going to be itching. So that was for that. So what I did, my favorite guy, you guys know, if you watch all the videos in this channel when I'm mixing, you always see vitamin on it. My baby, This is where I add life and presence and every damn thing I need on my vocal. So I without and with.
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prendrai dans mes bras.
So what I was adding I was adding that frequency. That's like adding some sauce on top of your soup, you understand? Because we are cooking something. So and I boosted a little bit of this
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai
and then this.
là, ton réveil.
I usually don't go below mid and the lows. So I use because it's a vocal, so this is where their strength lies. Had it been I was using vitamin on a full body of master, then I will now start working on using those stuff. You can use vitamin on mastering vocals, anything. Is an exciter that works perfectly on everything. So then I think at that point we don't mix songs on that one day. We don't just sit down and mix it. I think I left the song and came back another day because it wasn't the same day. Then I had an idea of adding a flanger to the song, and I added it and I liked it. So I added the flanger.
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prends.
Okay, so the flanger, I just added just 3% to it, and that was good. I'm going to increase the flanger so you see what the flanger is actually doing, making add some kind of wildness to the vocal. So
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prendrai dans mes bras. Malmonuma, taken, si se place, n'arrière.
that effect was good, but then I had to reduce it to about 3%, and I was satisfied with it. So I after the flanger, and I did another EQ. I think this should be the second to the last EQ that I think so. I use a lot of EQs in one project. That's how you get the best. Understand? So in the coming, like I said before, if you join our program, our you're going to have access to some in-depth mastering and mixing, frequency and analytics, and a lot of stuff that and anything you guys also suggest on the comments. I also make videos to that.
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps.
What I did there, I also took down this frequency. You hear that? I also took down. Now I gave it a bigger shelf, like a bigger curve, because I wanted to take down a whole more of that area. So I took down because it wasn't sounding good together with the beat. So at this point, I did dynamic EQ. So it doesn't cut all the time. It just cuts when he says something that has so much frequency in this area. It also took down the 3300 hertz. You hear that like whistle sound. So I used a dynamic EQ to also check that place because he wasn't making whistle sound in all his lyrics. So it was once in a while. So that was why I used a dynamic EQ to activate when those particular frequencies come up. Whew. And at that point, I did a lot, man. I added another DSR.
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prendrai dans mes bras.
Yeah, to take down the S's because I add plugins based on what I'm hearing and what I want. So it doesn't matter if I use 100 EQs. I know my target is usually what I want to hear and what I don't want to hear. Those are the two stuff. So I used ADS, and then lastly another. This should be the last one.
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prendrai dans mes bras. Malmonuma, taken, si se place, n'arrière, ça me bat.
So you watch this area. Something I explained previously. When you add compressors, even though you've used EQ before and you add compressor there, it's going to bring up some quiet parts. So just watch around there. You see frequencies resonating here. The reason why I didn't cut it was because it was below the audible frequencies that the ear can hear, like the audible decibel, because the volume is measured in decibel dB. So look at there's minus 100, and there is minus 70. These are decibels. Understand? So I think the human ear can only hear within minus 60 and 50. I think so. So these frequencies here are so inaudible. So I left it.
Là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prendrai dans mes bras. Malmo.
But then I took down this guy again. Then added a little bit of 4K to it.
Et là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je
So that was it. So I'm going to bypass everything and you listen to what it sounds like.
Et là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prendrai dans mes bras. Malmonoumatek.
You understand? So I'm going to play with the instrumental, bypass and bring it back. You hear what it sounds like.
Et là, ton réveil dans tes draps. Je serai là, je te prendrai dans mes bras. Malmonoumatek. Si sa place n'a rien et ça me bat. Dis-moi où ça n'est, dis le rôle, dis le fait.
Now that was it, and I already had it sent to my track spacer. You guys have already seen the tutorial on track spacer. If you haven't, you see it here. I have two videos on track spacer, the one for FL and the one for Cubase. So I already had my track spacer activated. Then I also had it sent to my delay and my reverb. You understand? My delay is the H delay set to 1/4. Understand? Then I also EQ'd my delay. Like I added telephone effects to my delay. So my delay is only bringing out telephone signal. Then I added my reverb. I use the money reverb. I also equalized my reverb. But I did a lot on this one. It's gonna be part of the stuff I'll be talking about in if you join our program, you get in-depth stuff because I did a lot of crazy stuff here. Understand? Then I also sent my delay to the reverb. So the delayed signal also gets some flavors of the reverb to it. So that was all I did here. So please do well to subscribe. I don't want to talk so much again because the video is already long. So do well to watch other videos on the channel. Drop a comment, like, do all those stuff that we like. If you don't want, feel free to get out. I was joking though.